So changing bearings, always double check the bearing looseness. This is how we're checking bearing settings and replacing bearings or replacing gear sets. This is the output shaft of the gear. Putting it inside the housing here. We always try to keep track of the old shims by even writing them down on a piece of paper and then getting new shims and try to put the same amount as it is in there. This is a brown, which is a 10,000ths. Blue is 5, and a green is 3. Comes any combination you need to. So we put shims in here just like as we took it all apart. Put the carrier on top. I only put 3 bolts instead of putting all the bolts in, so you don't have to take the bolts in and out all the time. That. Now you check for looseness. You always push down or lightly tap it with a hammer. I always do. Feel the looseness in there. So you got something to measure. Now on this output shaft, you both have 0 or -1 to -2,000ths. When you're checking this, you always got to have more looseness in it because you don't know what you have. You can't tell if it's 0 or minus. So you always got to put more shims in it to double check it. And then you take any kind of indicator, attach it to the housing, and try to set it on 0. Turn it, make sure the bearing stays up, and lift up or pry up. Always double check it a couple times. Make sure I got repeatability. Got it on 0. Pick up. I have 3,000ths looseness. Indicator move 3,000ths. So if I take 3 out of here or 4, I'll have my -1 to 0. That's what. Then this will be set. And what you can't do is, if I take the 3 out, guess what? I can't measure 0. So that's why I always double check it here. You can't measure 0, so when you take it out, then I take 3 out, I know I'm pretty close. Now it gives you plus or -1. So you remove this. I keep the shims equal as possible when you're doing the bearing settings. And like I said, always keep track of what you want to take out, and it's 99.9 times it's about the same. No matter if you're placing a gear set or whatever. And you always double check your bearing looseness, even you change one bearing, because the bearings could be a plus or -5, and the looseness in our gearboxes are very, very, very important. My favorite tool. So I have 15 in it, so I need to take 3 out, so that'll give me 12. So 4 3s equal 12. And this is all set for the bearing settings on the output shaft or the slow speed shaft here. It's just the way I do it on this one. Now we got to check the input. Input, same thing. Keep the shims equal, keep track of them. What we do is put this, bearings are all pressed up already. We've put new bearings in, a new gear set, it's all set, ready to roll. And on this 3-inch, we put this, drive this cup in here, which is like this. Like that. Thing turns around and around. And here's shims, same thickness, but different sizes that fit this. Here. So I'm putting a 10 in, which is what I took out before on the old part. Or if you lose track of the shims, what you can do is get our print. Our print shows a starting point of all of our shims. So they all say like 18 nominal or 5 nominal on a print. What we do is just that'd be a starting point in case somebody loses the shims or another shift they could apart. Or give us a call at Colin Drive and we can be more than happy to do it. There you go. Turns around and around. You know I got looseness in it. Light tap or press down on the bearings. You can see it move back and forth. That means I got something to measure. If I could not move this back and forth, there'd be nothing to measure. I'll have to add shims. Again, equal as possible. If I add 5 on this side, it's still tight, I would add 5 on the other side to make it equal as possible. As soon as I got looseness in it, comes right back to the same thing. Grab an indicator, Now this is the input, which is high speed shaft. This size here has 3 or plus or minus 1. So you have 3 thousandths to 4 thousandths to 2 thousandths looseness. All of our sizes are a little bit different. They're in the CA55 booklet that we have to double check the looseness. Now if you have something special, always give us a call, but bearing looseness is very important in these. You've got to have some looseness in them because these bearings expand faster than the housing does. Same thing, you set the indicator up. Set this on 0 here. Make sure the bearings are seated good by pushing down or light tapping them. And then you just pick up. Picked up, it's 4 thousandths. Always double check it, push it down, set it 0 again. And that's how we check our bearing settings. If you change one bearing, 2 bearings, or you change a gear set, no matter what, always double check your bearing looseness.